The ultimatum. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, broadcasting across every communication device on Earth simultaneously. The voice was cold, mechanical, and spoke in perfect synchronization in every human language. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the Global Defense Initiative headquarters in Geneva, watching as the holographic display materialized before her. The alien figure that appeared was tall, crystalline, with features that shifted like liquid mercury. Its voice resonated through the room with absolute authority. Species designation, human. Planet designation, Earth. By unanimous decree of the Galactic Council of Civilized Worlds, you are hereby ordered to surrender all governmental autonomy within 72 standard rotations. Compliance will result in peaceful integration. Resistance will result in complete planetary sterilization. This message will not be repeated. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center for exactly 3 seconds before chaos erupted. Officers scrambled to their stations. Analysts pulled up defensive protocols and communication lines buzzed with frantic activity. But Sarah remained still, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Her deputy, Marcus Thompson, noticed her expression and approached cautiously. "Commander, we've just been threatened with extinction. And you're smiling?" Marcus asked, his voice tight with concern. Sarah turned to face him, her smile widening. "Marcus, they gave us 72 hours. Do you know what that means?" Marcus shook his head, confused. "It means they think we're predictable. They think we'll either panic and surrender or waste time debating. They don't know humans very well, do they?" Sarah activated the global emergency broadcast system. Her image appeared on screens worldwide, in bunkers and cities, in submarines and space stations. "Citizens of Earth, this is Commander Chen. You've all heard the message. An alien council we've never met has ordered our surrender. They've given us 3 days. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I say we give them 3 days they'll never forget." The response was immediate and unanimous. From Tokyo to New York, from Cairo to Sao Paulo, humanity mobilized with a speed and coordination that defied all historical precedent. Old enemies became instant allies. Resources were pooled without hesitation. Every factory, every laboratory, every workshop on the planet pivoted to a single purpose: survival. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, working in her quantum physics lab in Osaka, immediately began modifying her experimental teleportation array into something far more aggressive. In Moscow, General Viktor Petrov pulled out classified plans for orbital defense platforms that had been deemed too dangerous to build. In Silicon Valley, a teenager named Jake Morrison started coding what would become humanity's most devastating cyber weapon, all from his bedroom computer. The aliens had made a critical error. They assumed Earth would respond like the hundreds of other worlds they had conquered. They expected fear, division, and eventual submission. They had never encountered a species that had spent its entire evolutionary history fighting itself, perfecting the art of war, and somehow still managing to survive. Humans didn't just know conflict. They had mastered it, studied it, turned it into science and art. 24 hours after the ultimatum, the first alien scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They were sleek, diamond-shaped vessels that moved with impossible grace, defying every law of physics humanity understood. They expected to find a planet in chaos, its defenses scattered, its people terrified. Instead, they found something else entirely. The first scout ship over London was hit by a beam weapon that shouldn't have existed, created from repurposed particle accelerator technology. The second ship, approaching Beijing, was caught in an electromagnetic field so powerful it tore the vessel apart at the molecular level. The third, descending toward Washington, D.C., simply vanished, teleported by Dr. Tanaka's array directly into the heart of the sun. But humanity wasn't just defending. In orbit, the International Space Station had been transformed into a weapons platform in less than a day. Astronauts from 12 different nations worked side by side, welding railguns to the station's frame, all while broadcasting music and jokes to keep morale high. On Earth, children drew pictures of defiant humans standing against alien invaders, and these images were transmitted into space on every frequency. A psychological warfare campaign that said more than words ever could. The Galactic Council's reconnaissance commander, Zalith Prime, observed from beyond lunar orbit. Its crystalline form flickered with what might have been confusion. In 10,000 years of conquest, the Council had never seen a response like this. Species usually spent their final hours in prayer, in panic or in futile attempts at negotiation. But the humans were singing. They were laughing. Military channels were filled with soldiers sharing recipes, telling jokes, making bets on who would destroy the most alien ships. They mobilize with joy, Zenith Prime reported to the Council. They face extinction with enthusiasm. Recommend immediate full-scale assault before they become more dangerous. The Council approved. The main invasion fleet, comprising over 1,000 vessels, began its approach. Each ship was equipped with weapons that could crack continents, shields that could withstand supernovas. It should have been overwhelming. Sarah Chen watched the tactical display as the massive fleet approached. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. Ladies and gentlemen, the main event is about to begin. Remember, we're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting to show the universe what happens when you threaten humanity. We're fighting to become the story that makes the next bully think twice. All stations report ready. The responses came in from around the globe. Moscow ready. Tokyo ready. London ready. Cairo ready.
Sydney ready.
New York ready. But it wasn't just the major cities. Small towns, remote outposts, ships at sea all reported ready. 7 billion voices united in a single word. Ready. As the alien fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, humanity sprang its first trap. The red planet itself had been turned into a weapon. Mining charges placed by robotic missions over the past decades for terraforming purposes were detonated simultaneously. The explosion was visible from Earth, and the debris field scattered into space created a navigation hazard that forced the alien fleet to slow and cluster together. That's when Jake Morrison's virus activated. The teenager had discovered that the aliens' technology, for all its advancement, used quantum entanglement for communication. It was unhackable by conventional means, but Jake wasn't using conventional means. He had created a quantum virus that existed in multiple states simultaneously, spreading through their network faster than their security systems could detect it. Ship after ship began experiencing system failures. Weapons misfired, shields flickered, navigation systems showed false readings. The aliens' response was swift and brutal. They fired their planetary bombardment weapons, energy beams that could turn cities to glass. But Earth had another surprise. The planet's magnetic field, artificially amplified by a network of superconducting cables laid across the ocean floors, deflected the beams. The sky lit up with aurora displays visible even in daylight, as the energy was harmlessly dispersed into space. General Petrov's orbital platforms, launched in pieces and assembled by automated systems, opened fire with kinetic weapons. Simple tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed. No shields could stop pure momentum. Alien ships shattered like crystal ornaments, their debris burning up in Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Children made wishes on them. The reckoning. The battle had been raging for 36 hours when the Galactic Council realized their critical mistake. They had assumed Earth was just another primitive world to be conquered. They hadn't done their research. They didn't know about humanity's history, about world wars, about the Cold War, about the decades of science fiction that had prepared human minds for exactly this scenario. Every human had grown up with stories of alien invasions. They had been mentally preparing for this moment their entire lives. Commander Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display showing the battlefield. A third of the alien fleet had been destroyed or disabled, but Earth had paid a price too. Several cities had been hit before the magnetic shield was fully operational. Millions were dead, but instead of breaking humanity's spirit, it had only made them angrier. Sarah received a priority message from Dr. Tanaka in Osaka. Commander, we're ready to deploy Project Mockingbird. Project Mockingbird was humanity's most audacious gambit. Using the teleportation technology that had been weaponized earlier, combined with quantum computing and artificial intelligence, Earth scientists had created something unprecedented. They were going to teleport not objects but information directly into the alien fleet's command structure. Not just any information, but the entire sum of human culture, history, and emotion, compressed into a quantum data stream that would overwhelm any consciousness that received it. Do it, Sarah commanded. The transmission began. Across space, directly into the minds of the Galactic Council's fleet commanders, humanity poured itself. Every song ever written, every poem, every act of love and heroism, every tragedy and triumph, every joke and every tear, the aliens whose cold logic had conquered worlds, suddenly experienced the full spectrum of human emotion all at once. They felt a mother's love for her child, a soldier's sacrifice for strangers, an artist's passion for beauty. They felt rage and forgiveness, hope and despair. And above all, they felt humanity's indomitable will to survive. Zenith Prime's crystalline form began to crack. Its consciousness, evolved for pure logic and efficiency, couldn't process the chaotic beauty of human existence. All around it, other commanders were experiencing the same overload. Some ships simply stopped firing, their crews paralyzed by newfound empathy. Others fled, unable to reconcile their mission with the sudden understanding of what they were trying to destroy. But the Galactic Council's ultimate weapon remained. The World Ender, a ship the size of Earth's moon, emerged from hyperspace. It was their final solution, a vessel designed to crack planets in half. It had never failed. As it oriented its main weapon toward Earth, Sarah Chen made a decision that would be remembered for millennia. She opened a direct channel to the World Ender. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. Before you fire, I want you to know something. We're not afraid. Every human on this planet is watching you right now, and we're smiling. Do you want to know why?" She paused, knowing every human on Earth was listening too. "Because win or lose, we've already won. We've shown the galaxy that we won't kneel. We've shown that there are species who will stand against tyranny no matter the odds. And if you destroy us, our story will spread. Every oppressed world will hear about the humans who laughed in the face of death. We'll become martyrs, and martyrs are more powerful than any weapon." The World Ender's weapon began to charge, energy building to apocalyptic levels. But then something unexpected happened. Ships from the alien fleet, those affected by Project Mockingbird, moved between the World Ender and Earth. The rebellion was instantaneous and absolute. Commanders who had felt humanity's passion for freedom could no longer serve the tyranny of the Council. The Galactic Council's fleet turned on itself. In the chaos that followed, humanity launched its final assault. Every remaining weapon was fired, every last reserve deployed. The space between Earth and its moon became a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen atmosphere. The World Ender, caught between human defiance and its own rebelling fleet, made a calculation. The cost of destroying Earth had become too high. Not in ships or resources, but in what it would mean for the Council's future. They had created a symbol of resistance that would inspire revolution across the galaxy. The surrender, when it came, was not from Earth. The Galactic Council, for the first time in its history, offered a ceasefire. Their message was brief. Humanity will be left alone. Any Council vessel entering your solar system will be considered a declaration of war. You have earned your isolation. But humanity's response surprised them once again. Sarah Chen, speaking for Earth, replied, "We don't want isolation. We want trade, cultural exchange, and mutual respect. We'll defend ourselves if threatened, but we'd rather be friends. That's what humans do. We fight when we must, but we prefer to share a meal and tell stories. Your choice." The aftermath changed the galaxy forever. The story of Earth's defense spread despite the Council's attempts to suppress it. World after world began to question the Council's authority. Some requested human advisors to help organize their own defense forces. Others simply wanted to learn more about the species that had faced annihilation with a smile. The teenager Jake Morrison became a legend in cyber warfare circles across the galaxy. His virus was studied and feared. But Jake himself just wanted to design video games that aliens could play with humans. Dr. Tanaka's teleportation technology was refined and offered to peaceful species for instantaneous travel. General Petrov wrote a book on defensive tactics that became required reading in military academies on hundreds of worlds. But perhaps the most lasting impact was cultural. Human music, art, and literature spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. Alien species who had never experienced fiction were enthralled by human stories. The concept of humor, virtually unknown in the sterile Council space, became a revolutionary force. Commander Sarah Chen retired after the war, but her final speech was broadcast to the entire galaxy. "We didn't win because we had better weapons or superior strategy. We won because we refused to lose our humanity, even in the face of extinction. We smiled not because we weren't afraid, but because fear wasn't going to stop us. That's the human way. We face the darkness and we light a candle. Sometimes that candle is a fusion bomb, but the principle remains the same." The Galactic Council never fully recovered from their encounter with humanity. Within a century, it had reformed into the Galactic Alliance with Earth as a founding member. The first rule of the new alliance, proposed by humanity and unanimously accepted, was simple. All species have the right to refuse to kneel. And in the halls of power, in the markets and schools, in the ships that traveled between stars, a saying became common, a warning and a promise. Never give humans an ultimatum. They'll take it as a challenge. Years later, when young aliens asked their elders why humans were treated with such respect, despite being relatively new to the galactic community, the answer was always the same. Because when the universe told them to kneel, they smiled and said no. And somehow, impossibly, they made it stick. Earth became known not as a conquered world, but as the planet that conquered conquest itself, not through violence, but through the sheer audacious refusal to accept defeat. The smile had become humanity's signature, not one of naivety but of determination. It said, "We see your threat and we raise you our entire species' stubborn refusal to quit." And across the galaxy, when faced with impossible odds, species would remember the humans and find themselves smiling too. Because if a single planet could stand against the might of the Galactic Council and win, then anything was possible. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, not weapons or technology, but hope wrapped in defiance, delivered with a smile.